Going to call this meeting to order of the Committee of Adjustment of the Township of Laurentian Valley. And the first order of business is to have that motion. Okay. Moved by Committee Member Wren and seconded by Committee Member Gauthier. And so that the Township of Laurentian Valley Committee of Adjustment meeting of August 20th, 2025 be called to order at 5:30 p.m. And it's moved by Committee Member Wren and Committee Member Gauthier. All in favor? Okay, and our roll call. So Committee Member Bennett.
Present.
Committee Member Gauthier.
Present.
Committee Member Hewitt.
Present.
Committee Member Hughley.
Present.
Committee Member King.
Present.
Committee Member Watt.
Present.
And Committee Member Wren.
Present.
All right, so our next item of business is to appoint a chair, as this is the first meeting of the Committee of Adjustment for this year, and as it is all of council sitting as the Committee of Adjustment, that is the requirement. So do we have somebody to put forward a contender for the chair?
I would move that Steve Bennett be chair.
I'll second that.
Okay. All right, and so that it's that Steve Bennett is elected as chair of the Township of Laurentian Valley Committee of Adjustment for 2025, and that the following members concur in the decision by signature or by recorded vote. So I will be circulating the, if everybody, if they concur, and I'll be circulating that for signature.
Okay.
So now I will pass the baton to our chair.
All righty. So we'll get approval of the agenda. Wendy and Brian.
Okay, approval of the agenda, that the Township of Laurentian Valley Committee of Adjustment meeting agenda of August 20th, 25 be approved as presented.
All in favor? Carried. Declaration by all committee members of any potential conflict of interest.
You just want our signature on it.
See none? Adoption of minutes, committee meetings from June 5th, 2023. Keith and Betty.
That the Township of Laurentian Valley Committee of Adjustment approve the following minutes, June 6, 2023 Committee of Adjustments meeting.
All in favor? Carried. Okay, business of the committee application for minor variance, file number MV 202501, Enterprise Incorporated Apartments. Laura.
Yes, so the committee has received an application for minor variance, and the notice was issued in accordance with the requirements of the Planning Act for the requirements under Section 45, which is related to minor variance. So the purpose of MV 2025-01 is to provide relief for the property at 1029 Pembroke Street East, owned by Arif Enterprises, Inc., and occupied by an existing apartment building, from certain sections of the general provisions related to parking spaces and parking area requirements in order to accommodate reconfigured parking spaces and area as a result of road widenings and changes required by MTO as a result of pending Highway 148 improvements. Pembroke Street East is also Provincial Highway 148. So the effect of the minor variance is to provide relief from the provisions in Section 3.24A subbracket 2 and 3.24D subbracket 1 and 4 of the general provisions for parking and loading spaces in comprehensive zoning bylaw 0804-391. And it's, again, in order to permit the following: a reduction in the minimum required number of parking spaces from 1.5 spaces per dwelling unit to 1.3 spaces per dwelling unit. And based on the number of dwelling units, this is a reduction from 18 spaces to 16 spaces. And to permit parking to be located in the front and side yards, not just the rear yard, and to reduce the minimum setback from the front lot line, street line, Rankin Street. There is a slight correction there, as we have reaffirmed that it is indeed Rankin Street as the front. And then from 1 meter to 0.20 meters for one of the space or some of the spaces. And then the property is also subject to site plan control, which will be requiring a site plan approval following. So again, the location of the property is 1029 Pembroke Street East, and that is in Part Block G, Plan 26, in the geographic Township of Pembroke in the Township of Laurentian Valley. And again, any person can participate and provide written or verbal comments either in support or opposition to the proposed variance, and they must make their comments known prior to the committee making a decision. And again, it is a public meeting, so any information provided does form part of the public record, including your name, address, and the information that is provided. And the notice was issued on the 8th day of August in accordance with the Planning Act. So in terms of comments, we did not receive any written comments from members of the public prior to this meeting. I will note we do have Novatech representation, which is the applicant on behalf of the owner, available to also just run through some of the overview of the need for the variance and the reasoning behind it. So I have Arjan Sour is available on our virtual meeting platform and has a couple of slides. So if you'll just be able to bear with us,
Absolutely.
and that may address some questions, Chair Bennett.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Hi, so Lori, I don't know if you're able to share the slides or if you prefer me to do it. I'd be happy to share them, but not sure if that's easier for you to do it.
Yes, if you're able to screen share, we believe that the technology will allow for that.
So, you should be able to see my slide presentation. Are you able to see that?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. So, good evening, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Arjan Sour, and I represent the owner of 1029 Pembroke Street East, and we're presenting our minor variance application for this project. I'm joined here by Mr. Arif, who is the owner of the property as well. So I'll just go to the next slide. So the subject site, as Lori mentioned, is located in the Township of Laurentian Valley, close to the shared boundary between the township and the city of Pembroke. The subject site is located at the northwest corner of Pembroke Street East and Rankin Street. The site has approximately 32.86 meters of frontage on Pembroke Street and 29.46 meters of frontage on Rankin Street. And the lot area of the site is approximately 1,319.1 square meters. So the subject site is currently developed with a 2.5-story low-rise apartment building. It has 12 units in the low-rise apartment building and 17 parking spaces. 12 of these parking spaces are located in the rear yard, and 5 of the parking spaces are located in the corner side yard. So on the images before you can see the corner side yard on the left-hand side, and then the building is viewed from Rankin Street, which would be the front yard. So this slide shows the survey plan with the existing building and the parking configuration shown. A corner siding triangle has been expropriated by the MTO as part of the roadway rehabilitation project on Pembroke Street East. And as part of that roadway rehabilitation project, a new barrier curb is proposed at the northwest corner of the signalized Pembroke Street, Rankin Street, Angus Campbell Drive intersection, which results in the removal of all of the parking spaces in the corner side yard and 3 of the parking spaces in the rear yard. So the proposed development is to reconfigure the parking lot in the rear yard to provide 11 parking spaces and to convert an existing asphalt area in the front yard to 5 parking spaces. And the requested variances, as well as the proposed development, are shown on the slide before you. And so I'll just quickly run through the tests. The first test for a minor variance is that the general intent and purpose of the official plan is maintained. So the subject site is designated commercial in the Township OP. Multiple residential dwellings, including this apartment building, are a permitted use in the commercial designation. Section 7.3 Policy 2 of the OP says that an adequate supply of off-street parking and loading spaces shall be provided. So the development results in the reconfiguration of the parking lot in the rear yard and the asphalt area in the front yard to provide a total of 16 spaces on the property. And so that's only one less parking space than is currently provided and two less parking spaces than the number required by the zoning bylaw. So the proposed number of parking spaces and the proposed location and setback meets the intent of the OP to ensure adequate parking supply is available. The second test for a minor variance is that the intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw is maintained. So the site is zoned R3, residential 3 zone in the Township Comprehensive Zoning Bylaw. The existing apartment dwelling is a permitted use in the R3 zone. So the intent of the minimum parking space rate provision is to ensure that adequate off-street parking is provided. This intent is met as the proposed parking rate of 1.3 spaces per dwelling ensures that each unit has at least one parking space available. The intent of restricting the parking area to the rear yard for residential units with 3 or more dwelling units is to limit the visibility of parking from the street. And so the proposed parking location in the front yard mostly utilizes what's already an existing asphalt area in the front yard that's currently used as a loading area. That asphalt area appears to have been on the property since at least 2007, as far back as we can go on satellite images. And so vehicles parking and loading is already in existing condition in this front yard. And so the conversion of that loading area into 5 parking spaces does not represent a significant departure from the existing use of that portion of the front yard. So the third test for a minor variance is that the variance is considered desirable for the use of land. The requested variances are desirable and suitable as they maintain at least 1 parking space per unit. They support a parking configuration that's generally representative of the existing condition on the site, as well as the surrounding properties. And it ensures that there's minimal disruption to the parking arrangements for the tenants of the apartment building, which is desirable. Finally, the fourth test for minor variance is that the variances are considered minor in nature. So the reduced parking rate is minor, as once again, it ensures that each unit has at least 1 parking space. And that's actually sufficient to ensure that the property owner is able to maintain the lease obligations to all of the existing tenants as it relates to parking. The requested variance to permit 5 parking spaces in the front yard and to permit the reduced setback of the parking area from the lot line is minor, as once again that relief corresponds to an existing built condition, which, as I mentioned, is corresponds with an existing asphalt area in the front yard that has at least been on the property since 2007. And I'd like to note that while the proposed conversion does result in more hardscaping in the front yard, the impact of the reduced soft landscaping is minor, and it balances that need to accommodate the lost parking from the MTO expropriation, along with snow storage and providing adequate drive aisles and all of that goes into the site. And any public realm or functional impact is partially mitigated by the fact that Rankin Street is a dead-end street that doesn't have a lot of traffic volume. And I would like to note, as Lori noted as well, that a site plan control application will be required. And so that will contribute to ensuring that the parking configuration is designed in a functional and appropriate manner. So thank you. That wraps up my presentation. The variances meet the general intent and purpose of the OP and the zoning bylaw. The variances are suitable and desirable and are minor in nature. And it is our opinion that the variances are good land use plan. Thanks.
Thank you, Jen, very much for the detailed information. Any questions of council? Seeing none. Questions from the public? Seeing none. Lori.
Okay, so we have a draft decision that would be, if granted, would be that the request to provide relief from the provisions of zoning bylaw 0804391 is amended from sections 3.24A2 and 3.24D1, 2, and 4 of the general provisions for parking and loading spaces in comprehensive zoning bylaw 0804391 in order to be granted in order to permit a reduction in the minimum required number of parking spaces from 1.5 spaces per dwelling to 1.3 spaces per dwelling unit, based on the number of units being reduction from 18 to 16 spaces, and the variance also permitting parking to be located in the front and side yards, not just the rear yard, and to also reduce the minimum setback from the front lot line, street line, Rankin Street, from 1 meter to 0 meters. And these variants required to accommodate reconfigured parking spaces and area as a result of road widenings required by MTO as part of the Highway 148 improvements, and that the property would also be subject to site plan control requiring site plan approval. So the recommendation being that the Committee of Adjustment consider the written submissions related to the application made to the committee before its decision and any oral submissions relating to the application made at the hearing, and having regard to the requirements of Section 45 of the Planning Act as amended. In so doing, do you decide that the decision be to grant the minor variance, subject to the condition being that the owner enter into a site plan agreement with the Township of Laurentian Valley, with the reasons being that the 4 tests of the minor variance have been met? And if the all committee members concur in that, then they would then sign the decision and indicate, and the decision would be final once it's issued in writing.
So, council's good? Okay.
Okay, so I will circulate the decision for signature.
Just while we're doing that, seeing that this is something that MTO has forced these people into, who is it that pays all the costs for this?
Yeah, so I don't know the specific details related to how all the transaction will evolve, but there is an expropriation and another process, and there is a lawyer engaged on behalf of Mr. Arif, and I see Arjan is also nodding his head, so he might be able to provide some additional clarity on that.
As Lori was alluding to, it's subject of an ongoing legal matter. Mr. Arif has engaged a lawyer to assist in that process in terms of getting the MTO to for this for whatever damages that occurred to Mr. Arif as part of the MTO expropriation.
Okay, that's good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now, just note for the record that we do have all committee members signing the decision, and again, it will be final once it's mailed out formally, but just to provide that indication.
Okay, thank you very much for participating in our committee meeting. Good luck with the project. Motion to adjourn. Brian and Keith.
That the, moved by Councillor Hughley and seconded, Committee Member Hughley and seconded by Committee Member Watt, that the Committee of Adjustment meeting of August 20th, 25 be adjourned at 5:51.
All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Evening, everyone. Welcome to our special council meeting in Laurentian Valley, August the 20th. Call to order.
Mover and seconder, please.
Alan and Jennifer.
Moved by Councilor Wren, second by Councilor Gauthier, that the special council meeting of August 20th, 2025 be called to order at 5:50.
All in favor? Carried. Roll call.
Mayor Bennett,
Present.
Reeve Watt,
Present.
Councilor Gauthier,
Present.
Councilor Hewitt,
Present.
Councilor Ugly,
Present.
Councilor King,
Present.
Councilor Wren,
Present.
all members present.
Thank you. Confirmation of the agenda. Brian and Wendy.
Moved by Councilor Ugly, second by Councilor Hewitt, that the agenda of the special council meeting of August 20th, 2025 be approved as presented.
All in favor? Carried. Motion to open a public planning meeting. Jennifer and Betty.
Moved by Councilor Gauthier, second by Councilor King, that the Council of Township of Laurentian Valley pursuant to Section 34 and 36 of the Planning Act hereby declare a public meeting open at 5:30 to discuss zoning bylaw amendment file number Z 2025-04, River Point subdivision, 47T 23007 TMM subdivision, and zoning bylaw amendment file number Z 2025-05, Bruce Jones.
All in favor? Carried. Laurie, please.
Yes, so we do have actually two applications for zoning bylaw amendment before us tonight. So I'm just going to mention one item that will cover both of them in terms of the protocols. So in terms of the meeting, again, it is a public meeting, so anybody that does provide comments, including their name, address, and other information, it all forms part of the public record. So in so doing, you're giving your consent and acknowledging that. We will be proceeding with first the application that's Z 2025-04, but again, this is the opportunity for anybody who make comments prior to council making a decision. So if you do have comments, we would then, when Mayor Bennett gets to that point in the meeting, we would be directing you to come forward to the podium only for when you're going to speak, and to provide your name and where you're from in order to form part of that record. So that will apply to both of these applications, but the first one that we are dealing with is Z 2025-04. And the purpose of this amendment is to provide additional flexibility for dwelling unit types in a new proposed residential draft approved subdivision plan, being County of Renfrew file number 47T 23007, also known as River Point subdivision, or sometimes referred to as TMM. And it's the amendment would be adding a 4-unit dwelling as a permitted use on the area of the subdivision that's zoned residential 3, exception 7, and then it would also allow the option of having 2 4-unit dwelling buildings on the one lot parcel of land. The amendment is also revising the minimum front yard depth for the R3E7 and the R3E8 and the R3E9, which are all residential 3 exception categories. And that's to ensure that there will be ample depth for parking to ensure vehicles will be parked outside the road allowance. And so the minimum front yard depth of 6 meters will be required to the garage, and then the minimum front yard depth of 4.5 meters can be applied to the remaining portion of the dwelling building. And this would be within those areas zoned in the new subdivision. The effect of the amendment is to amend the provisions of then the R3E7 zone to add the 4-unit dwelling and 2 4-unit dwellings on one lot, also as permitted uses, and then to establish corresponding lot performance zone provisions related specifically to those types of units. And then the effect of the amendment is also to amend the R3E7, R3E8, and R3E9 zones to set out that the minimum front yard depth would be 6 meters still within to the garage, and then 4.5 to the rest of the residential dwelling building. The lands affected by the amendment are within parts 1 and 2 on 49R 15387, parts 9, 10, and 15 to 17 on 49R 19069, all within part lots 21 to 23, concession 2, fronting on Alamette Lake within the geographic township of Pembroke and the Township of Laurentian Valley. So again, the notice was prepared in accordance with the requirements of the Planning Act and was issued on the 31st day of July 2025. And again, it was a combined a notice of the application as well as of this public meeting being held here tonight. So in terms of comments received, we did received a number of inquiries, but we did not receive any comments in writing from members of the public. We did receive the standard comments from Enbridge advising of no concerns, and I believe we received a similar acknowledgement letter as well from Hydro.
Okay, any questions of council? Keith?
I received a telephone call from a lady on Angus Campbell Drive, excuse me, and a couple of the questions were how far from the backyards of Angus Campbell Drive to these buildings, how far would that be, or what is the setback for that? As well as the number of parking units per unit. The third question was, is it the type that would be like a semi-detached with a lower and an upper unit on each side for the 4-unit buildings?
Okay, yes. With the inquiries that I did receive on the phone as well too, some of the questions were of a similar nature. And in terms of the setbacks, so the existing setbacks that are set out in the zones that are already in place would provide for that. There's basically a range of rear yard setbacks depending on the type of unit that's built. And that could range from 5 meters to 7.5 meters, and in some cases 10 meters. The style of dwelling that this would allow for, it's in essence to address some potential for CMHC type of funding for units, and also then to provide some other flexibility on the number of units. What you described as 2 semi-detached with basement apartments is exactly the type of thing that would be contemplated with this. Now, with the zoning that's already in place, it does provide for a range of housing types, and with the provincial direction with additional dwelling units, that already does allow as a right to have an additional, like an apartment in a unit. So the built form that would be seen, with whether or not this amendment is approved, what you would see built could essentially be the same when you're looking at it on the ground. But what you wouldn't see is where the lot lines are or where how the ownership is. So by having the 4 units or the 2 4-unit buildings on one property, that would be a rental situation where there wouldn't be individual ownership necessarily. And that's what you wouldn't see would be the property lines disappearing. So I'm just going to actually request our deputy clerk to bring up, there's a couple of renderings that were provided as well by JP2G, who are also present as the applicant to assist if there's other questions. So essentially, this just shows kind of a typical with how a rear yard, you can see there's some red lines pointing to the properties in the back that would give you a typical rear yard setback, which is in keeping with, you know, a lot of our other zones for residential in terms of those rear yards, and then how you could have 2 semis beside each other and then a basement apartment, so that really you could have this, and just what would disappear would be the lot lines in terms of how the ownership would be held. And again, another rendering, if I would just have it directed to the one that would be conceptual relief for River Point. And so what we have here, once that comes up, will be an aerial or drone imagery of the area that has what the typical buildings would look like superimposed on top. Yes, so as you could see here, sorry, I think I'm not very good at this pointer. I apologize.
It doesn't work on a TV, unfortunately.
Oh, okay, it doesn't. So that's not just me. So there is a line, just for those present in the room. Oh. Just need the, oh, okay. Okay, so essentially, this is the existing built form that's already there, and this is a rendering if you were to superimpose what units could look like.
So if you can leave that there for a minute. My question is there sidewalks? You know, I envisioned Matheson Drive. You know, the sidewalks are part of the property, and there was always issues with a second car pulling up, parking in the driveway, blocking the sidewalk. Do we know the intention here?
Yes, so that's separate and apart from the zoning. So we already have, when we dealt with the subdivision draft plan approval
Okay.
and the design there, the designs that will be coming with the more detailed design do include some, the sidewalk kind of accommodation. I would also say, I believe, yes. So Michael Faddock, who's also the engineer from JP2G with the design, may also be able to reaffirm some of those type of comments as well too.
So, Michael, come forward, please. Okay,
So?
so then my question is the sidewalk idea in the subdivision. I know I might be behind with the subdivision approval, but I'm just kind of curious what it's going to look like.
Yeah, so when we went through draft plan approval with the municipality, we determined through our traffic consultant, certain roads were gonna have sidewalks on both sides.
Okay.
And then other roads, non-arterial roads, were going to have sidewalks on one side. So every street is intended to have at least sidewalk on one side throughout the subdivision. And the main roads that are kind of coming straight through from Pembroke, those are intended to have sidewalk generally on two sides.
Okay.
And we've made accommodations to basically provide as much width as possible to the road so that if there are any cars parked to the side, that you can still get by. And on top of that, when we set up the grading designs for each of the lots, we've done our best to provide the parking minimums that are required as per the bylaw and the Planning Act with the ADU requirements that are in effect now.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else, council, questions?
Did that answer your question about a car blocking the sidewalk?
Not really.
So to answer that specifically, there's sufficient parking provided on the lots that there should be no cars over with their tailgating over top of the sidewalk. Yeah.
There won't be, okay. So it's gotta be a deeper lot than what Matheson is, because and you're familiar with Matheson, right?
Yes,
Because
very.
That is, okay, because that is kind of a mess there, because you can't park one car behind the other without overlapping the sidewalk, so. I just didn't want to see that happen again, so. Thank you. Okay. Laurie, go ahead.
And I think just to interject and just to reconfirm too, one of the reasons for the other part of the amendment that's bringing back, when we did the first amendment for the subdivision, it had brought in a 4.5 meter front yard depth. But what this amendment is also correcting for, because the intention always was with the developer that they would be trying to ensure that with their design that the vehicles would be off the road and off the road allowance. That's why the change to ensure that when it's lined up in front of the garage, that it is actually still the 6 meter as opposed to the 4.5. So the 4.5 would be to the house, but the 6 meter to the garage.
Okay, Al,
But there's still only going to be 1 or 2 parking spots, which will be side by side. Correct? So you're not going to be able, like Steve said, park 2 cars, like end to end. They have to be 2 cars side by side, and that's it.
So the only caveat I would put in here is, so once we have, there are some overrides that are currently in place from the province related to parking when we come to the additional dwelling unit, the like apartment in a house, that does somewhat limit some of our abilities around parking. So it's still, that's why we're making this approach that it would be at least the 6 meters deep to try to have that parking that is required is on the property, but we can't require, say, side by side. It can be tandem, like in line with each other. That's one of the things that is now a provincial regulation related to the additional dwelling units that overrides municipal zoning bylaws.
So at the end of the day, is one car behind the other blocking the sidewalk? The answer is no, correct?
You can't do that.
You can't do it, period. It's only side by side.
So if it's 6 meters, that's your truck or my truck,
Yeah.
is 6 meters.
That's all you get.
But it would be to a garage as well, so then that one would be it would be in the garage.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So we're still in the same situation as Matheson, basically.
Oh, sorry, I thought Mike was still there.
Who's that? Yeah, we're gonna go to the public in just 1 second, okay? Okay, anybody else, council? Members of the public, please state your name and address and come to the podium, please.
Hi, my name is David Timlick, and I'm on Cockburn Crescent, which my backyard is in there, but I'm also a potential interest in downsizing to one of the homes, so I pick up both. I understand your concern about Matheson, because that's terrible, but also even on Cockburn Crescent, if 2 cars park on the street, you're down to 1-lane street. And it seems strange, but we have enough on that little sketch you had of the one house, that looked almost 2 wide parking spots. Is that correct?
Laurie?
That one of the little home that you just had up.
I'm sorry, I just would have to have gone back to the rendering. Again, one thing I would qualify with the renderings, that's just an illustration. It's not the actual, so if it's the grading and drainage plan, is that
The
the?
ones
No.
with the homes on it with all the streets.
That one there, that looks like 2 wide still. Is that correct? Looks like it.
Again, that's a rendering provided by the developer applicant, so I would actually have perhaps Mike reaffirm.
Okay. I also know that on Matheson, some people have tried to put stonework to make it too wide, and they don't like that. So a lot of places have 2 cars, and it's tough. That was just my question. It would really help if we knew it ahead of time. Okay.
So I would assume that you can park 2 cars on either side, right? Or is it just?
That's what it
one?
looks, but as they said, it's only a rendering. It could
No,
be.
I understand that.
Yep.
Does Mike, do you have any feedback on that? Will there be a 2-car driveway, I guess, is the question
It's a
here?
2-car driveway, side by side.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
it's at least 6 meters wide for each of the lots.
Good, thank you.
That's good enough, okay? Anybody else? Seeing none? Back to you, Laurie.
Motion, I guess. Motion.
Motion, yeah.
Need a mover and seconder?
Al and then Betty.
Moved by Counselor Wren, second by Counselor King. That the council approves the application for zoning bylaw amendment file number Z 2025-04 for River Point subdivision 47T 23,007, AKA TMM subdivision and forwards bylaw number 2025-08-029 as presented to the bylaw portion of special council meeting of August 20th, 2025 for enactment.
All in favor? Carried. Okay, Laurie, second one is zoning bylaw amendment for file Z 2025. Bruce Jones.
Yes, the second application that's before council, it also is a combined notice for the application as well as for this public meeting. And the purpose of the amendment is to rezone the subject lands of Z 2025-05 to permit a logging hauler that includes the open storage of logs, sawmill, contractor shop, and yard. Per the existing zoning, the property has been used up to this point as the logging hauler and forestry use. So then the effect of the amendment is to rezone the subject property from rural to general industrial exception 2 holding, with the holding zone being applied to establish the principle of use, with the condition for the removal of the holding symbol being the entering into the site plan agreement with the township. So the lands affected by the amendment are located on Doran Road, County Road number 26, within Part Lot 20, Concession 15 in the geographic township of Alice. And again, copies of all the materials are available at the township office for viewing. And again, this is the opportunity for members of the public to speak if they have any concerns prior to council making a decision. Again, the zoning is the same zoning as the abutting property that's to the north, which would be the Shaw Holdings. So that has an existing lumberyard. And if we look to the air photo, that does provide the location. I would also note that I did receive one written correspondence that was circulated to council as well from the abutting property owner at 1733 Doran Road, which, if looking to the air photo that is being shown, it would be the property, I guess, to the southeast. And with that, the general nature of the concerns were, one of them was ensuring that when the site plan is dealt with, that it's affirmed where the exact lot line is between the two properties to make sure that there isn't any encroachment with the use onto the property that's at 1733. And that is clear where those lot lines are. And as part of the site plan process, that would be something that would be addressed, including any buffers required to be maintained or added. And again, another concern that was raised through the letter was water consumption, given that they're on a well. They were concerned that with it being a logging company, that they may use more water. And then also there was a concern that they expressed related to wetlands and wildlife, and with turtles being in the area. There was also a concern raised related to an existing logging trucks that are already driving down that road, related to the existing logging operations, and that they feel like sometimes they're fully loaded and heavy and traveling at all hours, and sometimes hauling double trailer loads. And there were some concerns related to speed and use of the air brakes. And their concern is that with expanded operations, that this could increase that. Again, so that was the nature of the concerns raised.
Lori, have we addressed these concerns?
This was a letter that was brought forward. So what I would state in terms of things that we can address as we move forward with the site plan process, we can ensure that certainly that it's well established and understood where the lot line is that's common to that, and to ensure that there's buffering that's either maintained or added to ensure that property screen. The thing I would note is that the existing dwelling on 1733 is located further away at the other end of that property, closer towards, I apologize, I've lost the side street name there. Forest Lee Road. Thank you. So it's closer to Forest Lee Road where that existing dwelling is. So I would also note that the area is predominantly a mix of rural uses, and so the property that this is also abuts an existing gravel pit and quarry operated by Greenwood Paving. So the only abutting property that has a residential use on it is the 1733, and as I say, what I would note that it is, at least the dwelling is located the furthest away that it could be on that property.
Okay, Alan?
Just a couple of things, Lori. What is the actual setback from that property to a residential property? And what would the size of the buffering be in meters?
So because it's not in an industrial zone, 1733 would have a setback requirement from it of 22 meters.
So Jones would have to stay 22 meters away from his...
That's correct, from that property line. Yes.
Okay?
Yeah.
The other question I have, and I'm seeing it more and more around the county, is signs stating that air brakes are not to be used in residential areas. I know it's a tough one to enforce, but is it something that maybe we should start looking at in some areas where there is heavy truck traffic, requesting trucks not use their air brakes? Really, an air brake is designed for a truck when it's going down a hill and not when it's stopping on a flat surface. So it's maybe something that we could look at to put some more of those signs up in those areas.
Yeah, so that's something I would have to bring up with the Public Works Manager, and I know that that comment has come up before, and I know that sometimes there are some, he had noticed, I think, some challenges related to that, whether or not that was because of being provincial highway and this being county road, but it's certainly, we can bring that back with him to provide some direction for council on that
Okay, thank
matter.
you.
Anything else from council? Anything from the public? Yes, please come up and state your name and address, please.
Hello, my name is Tanya Nicolaitis. I am the property at 1733 along with my parents. So I guess there was one other thing in the email that wasn't mentioned, and I'm not sure how it all goes with zoning. If at any time we were looking to sever off some of that property to make other homes available to be built there, what that would look like with what is currently already there and looking to expand. So can we still do that? Can we do it now? I'll be honest, I don't know. So the air, like the trucks, that's a big thing too. The water is a big thing for us, but even when I drive by now with what is existing there's water running 24/7. So there's the great big logs that come in, and I'm not saying that it's this property owner, I'm just saying in general what's already there with everybody. The water's running all the time. So I'm not sure what that does for consumption for all of us in the area.
Are you able to address that now, Laurie, or?
Okay, sorry, I'm just to understand the comment about, so the water's running all the time, I'm just,
Yeah,
sorry,
there's a couple of different kind of things in there, I guess. The first thing is about being able to, if we can, or if we will be able to in the future, sever off some of those lots.
Okay, yes, I can respond to that. Sorry, the thing I was just a little bit unclear on was the comment related to the water running.
So the water, my concern would be that if there's an operation that's looking to rezone to be a bigger commercial area, the water consumption there. So the water that I see being consumed, not just by that property, but in general, is sprinkler type systems running all of the time. And I would assume from a logging company, they have to have some kind of water consumption. I just don't know if that has to run 24/7, and if it does, what the consumption would be from the area, right? I don't think water's being hauled into our area to water down those logs. Maybe they are, I don't know. But the water's obviously coming from the ground then if not. So if they're looking to expand in our area, what does that do for not just us, but everybody there with the water consumption?
Okay, sorry, thank you for the clarification. So I guess with the first item, and I apologize for addressing that with council, but in terms of severances, there's already, because of the location of the property abutting the existing licensed gravel pit and quarry, and because there's been quite, probably in the range of about 15 lots severed in that area already, but the bigger compounding issue is the existing aggregate that's available there that has restrictions that would limit the ability to sever already from that property until aggregate would be extracted, and it is a full running operation. So that's an impediment that exists already, that whether or not this use went in next door, you still have that situation. So in terms of water, as you know, through the process, if there is, we don't govern the issuance of well permits, but there is a limitation related to the ministry, with the Ministry of the Environment, that if you were taking more water, and I apologize, I don't have the number in my head in terms of the liters per day, but there is a trigger where it does become a ministry permit as opposed to just a well driller going in and providing that. But through the site plan process, we can certainly address what the water requirements would be and make related to fire suppression. And if that is a trigger, then that would be something as well that the ministry would be requiring some additional information on, and we could certainly address some items related to that to ensure that it won't have a negative impact on wells in the area.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Everybody else from the public? Please come forward.
name's Bruce Jones. Hopefully I can put some clarity to the lady's questions on the water. That's, the sprinklers she's talking about are the sprinklers at Herbshaw's sawmill, which they use to water the logs so they don't stain. And I'm not privy to all the information, but they went through extensive MOE consultation. I think they have wells that recirculate the water at the north end of their property. They used to get some from Lemke Lake. I'm not sure if they still have access to that or not. But that process where they water 24 hours a day, and I understand what you mean, sprinkling the logs, maintains the quality of the logs and gives them the ability to hold them over the summer when there's potential to stain. And like I said before, there is an extensive process. They went through that, like Laurie said, with the MOE. So hopefully that helps that. But that is the property. That's not the property in question. That's adjacent.
Thank you. Anybody else from the public? If not, I have a motion. Jennifer, Keith?
Moved by Councillor Gauthier, second by Reeve Watt, that the council approves application for zoning bylaw amendment file number Z 2025-05, Bruce Jones Forestry, subject to the condition for the removal of the holding zone being established that the owner enter into a site plan agreement with the township to be registered on title, and the council forwards bylaw number 2025-08030 as presented to the bylaw portion of the special council meeting of August 20th, 2025 for enactment.
All in favor? Carried. I get a motion to adjourn the public meeting. Wendy and Betty.
Moved by Councillor Hewitt, second by Councillor King, that the Council of Township of Laurentian Valley hereby declare a public meeting of August 20th, 2025 be adjourned at 6:25.
All in favor? Carried. Okay, we'll move on to new business, report motion Elgin Street.
Okay, so what I do have before council is a report related to the the Elgin Street LaPointe subdivision. It's a draft plan that's been filed with the County of Renfrew. The peer reviews of the various studies that are also submitted with the county have been now complete. And some of the one of the more final ones was related to the environmental impact study, and I understand that those are in the final stages, and some of the recommendations there would be incorporated into draft plan conditions. So that's where the township is now at, providing the recommended draft plan conditions that would be the township conditions. They have also been circulated to the developers, engineers, and planners, and they have had some comment, and we made one update that was related to not applying to this subdivision, but basically what's before council is now what we're proposing to bring forward to the county, and it's a similar layout and style as to the conditions that were set out for TMM, and in keeping with the format that the county is now requesting that we use, and the first one we had with that was the TMM subdivision. So again, there is some more detailed design that's already in part underway, and there has been discussions along the way with the city of Pembroke as well, because again, we're in the area of transition, having a boundary line on the other side of the Elgin Street. And then this also includes an area that would be on full municipal sewer and water services. So again, that is part of the engagement with the city. And in terms of stormwater management, there would be some relationships there as well too. So again, we're setting this out to move to the next step where some of the detailed design again has started, but would be in more fulsome once this is in place. And the other item, just that's a little bit different than some of our other subdivisions, is we do already have a lease in place for part of the parkland block where we did establish our Elgin Street Park, and that would be part of the lands then that would incorporate the land dedication requirement, with the remainder being potentially for cash in lieu.
Okay, thanks, Laurie. I know that you and your group have been working with the city of Pembroke, and it's good to see that folks are working together, as we do have similar projects or projects in joint that is working well. So it's good to see that. Any questions for Laurie? We have a motion. Brian and Ellen?
Moved by Councillor Yulee, second by Councillor Wren, that the Council of Township of Laurentian Valley supports County of Renfrew issuing draft plan approval to the County of Renfrew subdivision file number 47T24003, Elgin Street, LaPointe subdivision, and that council further directs the township planner to advise the county of the township draft plan conditions in substantial form as attached to this planning memorandum number 1 dated August 13th, 2025.
All in favor? Carried. Next up is under corporate services, policy, no, sorry, amendment to development charges. Sorry, Laurie.
That's okay. Yes, so what this is there have been some significant changes over the last couple of years with the Development Charges Act. One of the changes that they did bring into effect with that was this ability to be able to extend the expiry date when we're underway with our study to update our plan. We had hoped that we might have had the new study in place before having to do this, but just a number of factors, and including the summer and some extra complexities as well coming forward with looking to some of the changes coming with the Development Charges Act as well. We're still in line to have that before council early in the fall, but because our expiry date is September 1st, that's where the recommendation from Watson, and there is a little one-page report from Watson as well attached to my report, is that we can amend the bylaw by deleting the section that just has the actual expiry date. And then the Act at this point didn't require that we give notice ahead of time for this, but we will issue a notice following this. So basically what this does allows the existing charges to be continued, to be collected, and then once the new bylaw is brought into place, then the new charges would kick in, and this ensures that we don't have a gap where we're not collecting anything. And again, our interest would be to have the new bylaw in place as soon as possible so that we can ensure that we're capturing what we need to fund the items that we're going to have to and build for growth.
Questions to council? A motion? Keith and Wendy?
Moved by Reeve Watt, second by Councillor Hewitt, that the council approves the bylaw 2025-08031 to amend the development charges bylaw 2020-09039 as presented and forwards it to the bylaw portion of the August 20th, 2025 special council meeting for adoption.
All in favor? Carried. Okay, report on policy 10, accommodation return to work plan.
I'll turn this one over to Laurie Dennis, please.
Okay. Laurie, you're really enjoying your summer. I see that now.
Good evening. A report with regards to a proposed corporate policy HRG 10, return to work, which is accommodation and return to work for work-related injuries and illnesses, is before you tonight for review. The township has experienced very few work-related injuries and illnesses over the past several years. While there has not been a formal policy in place regarding accommodation and return to work planning for employees with work-related injuries and illnesses, a functionabilities form has been used as a tool to support the process. In addition, case managers have been involved in the Workplace Safety and Insurance Board as required for case-by-case basis. WSIB was conducting a study in collaboration with Ontario Public Health and Safety Association, PSHSA, to improve health and safety supports for smaller businesses. The Township of Laurentian Valley was invited to join the program and participated in the program for 3 years, obtaining rebates for its participation. Through the program, we receive free supports from implementing health and safety improvements in our organization each year. For our participation in the WSIB Health and Safety Excellence Program this year, the Township of Laurentian Valley was approved for the following topics: accommodation and return to work plans, return to work roles and responsibilities, return to work program requirements, forms, and tools. A combined policy for the three topics was created and reviewed by our PSHSA representative, Township Joint Health and Safety Committee, department heads, and now before council for review and approval. The purpose of the human resource policy is to outline the township's responsibilities and procedures for supporting the safe and timely return to work of employees who have sustained a work-related injury or illness. The policy ensures compliance with legislation requirements while promoting a fair, consistent, and supportive approach to accommodation and reintegration in the workplace. As part of strengthening its occupational health and safety framework, the township has developed a formal return to work policy supported by our detailed return to work procedure. The procedure establishes defined roles and responsibilities for employees, Joint Health and Safety Committee managers, supervisors, CAO, clerk, and the treasurer, deputy CAO. A structured process for developing and reviewing accommodation plans consistent with requirements of the Ontario Human Rights Code. Mechanisms for dispute resolution in the event that challenges arise during the process. The introduction of the policy reflects the township's commitment to fostering a workplace culture that prioritizes health and safety and inclusion. The return to work policy and procedure represents an important addition to the township's overall occupational health and safety program.
Thanks, Laurie. Any questions for Laurie? Wendy?
Not really a question, just more of a comment. It's a very lengthy and detailed document, and I think it's a very important document to have. So good work for you guys.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to point out Laurie's put a lot of time and effort into this, and it is something that is, something we've badly needed. I mean, in a case where you do have some people that have been injured over the years, it allows us to have a process for both the employer and the employees. So everybody knows what they're up against. It's not like we're making up the rules as we go. So every injury is different, and there's, but that's why it becomes lengthy, and it was lengthier, and then Laurie kind of trimmed it down. We had the discussion, so I think it's at a point where, yes, it's lengthy, but hopefully we never use it, but if it's there, certainly the policy and the procedures are there to kind of handle the situation, so.
Thanks, Laurie.
Thank you.
Motion? Alan and Jennifer?
Moved by Councillor Wren, second by Councillor Gauthier, that the council review and adopt the draft corporate policy HR G-10 return to work policy in principle.
All in favor? Carried. Okay, next item is September meeting dates.
Yeah, we just, there was a thought, because we've had this meeting and it's late in August and September happens to bring 5 Tuesdays, the thought process was just to push off, instead of doing it right after Labor Day, which is only basically 9 days away, we felt that maybe possibly using September to its value, that we would push the first meeting in September to the 9th and then do 2 weeks later the 23rd, and then we'll back to October. We'll get on our regular first and third Tuesdays, so that's kind of what this is doing.
Questions? Dean has a fishing date, that's why.
No, Dean, well, unfortunately, Dean will be away on the 16th, but, yeah, no, as a matter of fact, Dean.
One extra men's match.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
All in favor?
No, move her in a second, please.
Oh, yeah, sorry, Wendy and Betty.
Moved by Councillor Hewitt, second by Councillor King, that council agrees that the following scheduled meetings be rescheduled. Council committee meeting of September 2nd, 2025, and regular council meeting of September 16th. And further, that council approves the following meeting dates and times. Council in committee meeting rescheduled to September 9th, 2025, and regular council meeting rescheduled to September 23rd, 2025.
All in favor? Carried.
One thing I might just add while we're on this topic is, there was a kind of a mention at the end of the last term, the last session of council back in June, that possibly we might move our meeting time start time from 5:30 to an earlier time, just because staff is kind of sitting here waiting, and maybe we can get our, more time into it at an earlier time. So there's been some conversations about 4:30, 5, or 5:30. So at this point, all I'm putting it out there as a feeler. If anybody has any hard core of any of those times that they can't do it or don't want to do it or whatever the feeling is, certainly if you could let me or Laurie know, in the next couple weeks to see, because then we'll be proposing something the next meeting will start at 5:30 as normal, but if we're looking at possibly starting a little earlier, whether it's 4:30 or 5, that's a possibility, just let us know. But we'll want to make sure that we're not pushing somebody or running in here, as I told Councillor Ewan, with their hair stuck straight out because they're running in here. That's not what we're trying to do here. If it's convenient and it works, that we would look at an earlier time if we can. So it's just a thought process right now, but I certainly like anybody's opinions, and you can give us a shout or email me or whatever the case is.
I know I mentioned it to Dean when we talked about it, that, you know, when you're elected for this 4-year term, your new council meetings are at 5:30. So we don't want to put anybody, as Dean said, in a position that your job's affected or whatever. So if you just say, I can only do 5:30, that's fine. And we'll leave it for this term, and then the new council could decide what to do. So no pressure on anybody for that.
Okay.
Okay, next up is a letter of resignation from Wanda Hiltz, Chair Fit and Feisty. The letter is there. We wish Wanda the best. I will mention that Keith and I were at the annual barbecue today, which is well attended, and Sherry Crone is taking over as president, I guess. Temporarily. Did a good turnout today, and I think they're just over 600 members, and today was a continuation of signing up for the 3rd year. So they're, again, very active. Anyways, that's it for that. Bylaws, Dean.
Mover and seconder.
Betty and Keith.
Moved by Councillor King, seconded by Reeve Watt, that the following bylaws be enacted and passed and be read a first, second, and third time, and be numbered and signed by the mayor and the clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation, and be engrossed in this bylaw book this 20th day of August 2025. Bylaw 2025-08-029, zoning bylaw amendment Z 2025-04, River Point subdivision, 47T 23007, TMM subdivision. Bylaw 2025-08-030, zoning bylaw amendment Z 2025-05, Bruce Jones Forest Products. Bylaw 2025-08-031, amendment to development charges bylaw 2020-09-039 to extend the expiry.
All in favor? Carried. Council acknowledgements. Do we have any? Brian?
I'd just like to send out a thank you to Nevada and Chris for an event that was held for the first time in the township, the Dirt and Water Festival, and certainly a shout out to the town of Petawawa for their cooperation with the township. Great collaborative event that happened, and good work on both the township staff and Petawawa as well.
Yeah, for sure. I was there as well, and there was upwards of 150 participants of kids 12 and under, 13 and under, and it was very well organized by everybody, including Hughley's and staff from Petawawa and Laurentian Valley. Just goes to show how two municipalities can work together to put on a good show. And it's just not just the 150 kids that actually participated. You know, the siblings, the parents, the grandparents. It was a big crew, so it was very well done, well attended. Anybody else? Wendy.
I know Mark's not here tonight, but I just would like to acknowledge and say thank you to him as our manager for all the updates over the summer of all the road construction. It was very nice, and appreciate all of his work and keeping us updated.
Good. Okay. Gonna move into closed session?
Yes, yeah, a quick minute, yeah. Mover and seconder.
Alan and Jennifer.
Moved by Councillor Wren, seconded by Councillor Gauthier, that the special council meeting of August 20th, 2025 move into closed session at 6:40 p.m. Chaired by Mayor Bennett, according to Ontario Municipal Act 2001, Section 239.2, Section 239.3, and Section 239.3.1, in order to address a matter pertaining to a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board.
All in favor? Okay.
Take two.
Okay, we're now in open session. But we'll have a motion to return to open session, please.
please.
Alan and Betty.
Moved by Counselor Wren, second by Counselor King, that the special council meeting of August 20th, 2025 be moved back into open session at 7 PM.
All in favor? Carried. Motion to adjourn. Jennifer and Brian.
Moved by Counselor Gauthier, second by Counselor Ugly, that the special council meeting of August 20th, 2025 be adjourned at 7 PM.
All in favor? Enjoy the rest of your summer. Thank you.
Thank you.